welcome to Pete Classic Cars and another video where I say it's going to be a shorter one than usual and then it turns out to be the standard 12 or 13 minutes long. So in this video we're going to be working on the SD1 again. Still working through the engine fitment and getting things bolted in place. Today we're going to be looking at the intercooler hoses on the intake side. We're going to test fit the starter motor, clutch slave cylinder, sorry, and a few bits of wiring. And hopefully it might be a two-part video because we might turn the car around and start looking at the rear suspension and disc brake conversion as well. So could be quite an interesting one. Hopefully, maybe not. Sorry if there's a cameo from the dog. He wants to get involved, wants to be in every video I do apparently. You might still be able to see the T5R. It went on eBay last week. You're seeing this video on Monday the 18th of November. The Volvo actually sold. Within an hour of it selling, the buyer emailed to say he'd bid by accident. So it's back on, finishes this Wednesday the 20th, about 8 o'clock. If you're interested in a cheap T5R, check it out. Otherwise, if you like this video, consider liking and subscribing. It's helping the channel. The channel's growing, slowly but surely we're getting there. And yeah, let's do some work on the SD1 before the bad weather arrives. I think I've said it before, but I'll say it again. Everything I'm doing is coming back off eventually to get cleaned, sorted, fitted, painted properly. I don't know if you can see, but the sump lip sticks out by about 1 centimetre. That's because it's the wrong sump. I was told an SD1 2-litre sump would fit. It doesn't. You need a Discovery MPI sump, which I've now got. But I'm not taking engine out to fit a different sump when I still need to test fit everything else. So the starter motor, there's no flywheel. So I'm going to fit the starter motor just to make sure everything around it fits, all the wiring fits, all the wiring sorted. I know the flywheel's okay. So it just made sense to just chuck it in a bit easier. There's no flywheel, no clutch. It made putting the engine and gearbox together a lot easier and quicker. I'll take the engine and gearbox out as a oneer and put it back in as a oneer when we're done. So starter motor should be fairly simple to fit. It's just two 17 mils. I put one of them in to hold the bell housing together, so I've got to take that one out, and then once that one's out we'll get both of them put back in. Probably ought to have put the clutch slave on first, but I know the clutch slave is going to fit, so I don't really need to. I don't know if they're threaded actually, I can't remember. They must be. Yeah. Shall we put that on first? I mean, we've been going for 2 minutes, we might as well change plan completely, haven't we? Yeah, go on then. But again, we're not putting the rod in, we're just going to put the clutch slave in to make sure it fits. I managed to jam that behind the steering column as well, so that's good. I mean, that braided hose is ridiculously long. It's got no business being that long really, has it? We'll get a shorter one of them, but for now it'll do. There you go, one clutch slave mocked up in place. So as I said, we definitely need a much shorter braided hose. That's insane. It's about 2 foot too long. Obviously not 2 foot, you get what I mean. Right, let's do what we came here to do and get the starter motor out. Did I say they were 17s? This bolt that was holding it together, and then me doing this causes the whole lot to just fall out. One new starter motor, can't remember what it's off. Land Rover, perhaps. I bought it from a Ministry of Defence website. It's selling off stock spares, so it's probably Land Rover, isn't it? Looks like it fits in all. Bolts aren't long enough though. There we go. One starter motor fitted, mocked up, whatever you want to call it. Next job. Oh, while I remember, you might notice the inlet manifold's changed. So my welded custom inlet manifold has gone. Replaced by, well, it's the same lower, Discovery MPI upper. This fits a lot neater against the engine. I can reuse the original brackets that bolt it on, like the support brackets. Hoses like this all mount up, and the throttle body points in a much nicer direction. So happy with that. Quite a rare item to find. Managed to get one along with a couple of other bits as well. So that's the, I mean, obviously going to get cleaned up and painted, but yeah, yeah, happy with that. Just, you know, plugs the engine a lot tighter. Right, next job now. We've done the starter motor and clutch lathe cylinder. I'm going to get, I might put this pipe on, mock up the brake vac pipe. These, I couldn't remember what they do. One of them's going to go to the boost gauge, one of them's going to get blocked off, and one of them goes to the ECU. That's those. That's obviously brake. That goes to the fuel pressure regulator. These are both related to turbo. One of them goes to each side of it. I can't remember which one's which, but I've got it on a diagram, so should be well away. I might have to spin the throttle body back around. At the minute the throttle body's upside down. I ran it that way because it's got a massive alloy block on the other side that I didn't like the look of. But I think we're going to have to turn it the right way around. Yeah, it won't make a difference to angle, so I don't have to do it right now, but obviously, as you can see, you're not getting a throttle cable in there, so I'll need to run along the throttle cable because it'll be on this side, but it should work fine. We'll get there. So yeah, carry on mocking up. I am at some point going to have to get rid of this power steering pump. It's really starting to annoy. I have got a manual steering rack. Oh, bolt there. I've got a manual steering rack, so it will be running manual steering, not power steering. Create a bit more room in engine bay, and yeah, I might take that off actually today, get rid of that. Should we do that? Yeah, why not? Let's take that off. And that's the power steering pump off. Just 2 unions. They came out quite easily. Frees up a lot of space. Should we flip it upside down? Frees up a lot of space at the side of the engine. Managed to do it without spilling a drop of oil. So that's good. Plenty of room for alternator now, ideally. So we'll have a look at that. What next? We're going to have to start looking at intercooler lines soon, aren't we? Can't keep messing about. We'll do that. We'll do that brake vac hose, and then we'll have a look at the intercooler hoses, which is what we said we were going to do when we started this video. So let's do that. Right, brake servo to inlet manifold pipes. Rover 220 bolts into the inlet manifold. Plastic push-in on the servo and some kind of valve in the middle. Good old Rover SD1, a piece of pipe with 2 clamps. Now the new manifold doesn't have that, It has just a push fit, but obviously the plastic bit is fairly similar. So I'm going to use a mix of the two. I don't know what that valve is, but seeing as it was on the car when it was running, I want it on the car now. So I'll shorten this, put that in the middle of it, and get that bolted on. Something a bit like... Okay, I didn't use the valve, sue me. The plastic pipe was stuck on there and I couldn't get it off very easily, so yeah, it'd be fine. Didn't have a valve in it before, we're saying that's good. I've got a new reservoir, it's all cracked. I've also got a brand new servo, so that'll all be getting changed, but for now that's good. I've connected the wire to the starter motor just for the, well, just because I wanted to really. I might connect some random vac hoses up. I'm doing anything to avoid them intercooler lines, aren't I? Might swap around the throttle body, and yeah, I'll do that. And then we really are running out of reasons not to do it, aren't we? Alright, let's get the throttle body swapped over, a couple of little vac lines on so it looks cool, and yeah, then we'll get the then we will get onto the intercooler hard lines, I promise. Okay, so that vac line goes nowhere, but it will go to the fuel pressure regulator when the fuel rail's fitted. This vac line goes back on itself, so it comes out and then straight back in. One of them will be used for a boost gauge at some point. I don't really know where I'm going to fit a boost gauge because I don't really want you to be able to see it. And then this one, for now, just goes over there and goes nowhere. That's going to go to the ECU. I've swapped the throttle body around, that's now the right way, but as you can see, throttle cable's just not quite long enough, so I'm going to need a custom throttle cable making. It's not the end of the world, we'll get that. I've only got one of these brackets, I need to find another. That's on, but it'll want new clips. There's a breather back there, can't really see it there, that's almost touching the bulkhead, so I need to make a right angle for that and get that sorted. What else today? Wiring wise, not a lot. I've got to get some wiring sorted for the alternator. I'm going to try and use a bit of the SD1's loom for that. It all plugs into there, but I just need to strip it back and figure out what I need and what I don't need. And what else? Oh, it's just started to rain, which is great, but we'll make do. We made a stern of stuff. I'm going to send away and get these lines made up soon, so I can get the oil cooler plumbed in. I've got the rubber bobbins for this, but I want to take it off and paint it. I need to sort the battery clamp out. It's a lot of little fiddly jobs, so I'm going to have to do those intercooler pipes. Right, so although it looks messy at the moment, we've got to connect that silicone joiner up with that silicone joiner down there in the neatest way possible. The radiator itself is going to sit a bit further back, and we've obviously got a fair bit of movement in the intercooler because we've not put the top mounts on yet. So we know, looking at that we're going to need a right angle. So I've marked this one up, I'm going to cut it. I've marked it a bit long, but it's better to cut it too short than take too much off. So we're going to cut it there to start with. That one's going to create the right angle to bring it out like that. We'll then chop it down somewhere where my thumb is. So that's that one. And then this one, again I've marked it, will come out of there, like out of the throttle body like that. And again it'll get chopped somewhere where my thumb is. And we'll have another silicone joiner in the middle. That joins them all up. I don't think this is going to be the only cut I make on these pipes. There will definitely be another one. But in theory, it's going to take two solid pipes and one joiner in the middle. I don't want it to look like a patchwork quilt. So let's chop them and see what they look like. Right, about an hour later, and we've cut, filed, tweaked, messed about with, and we've got a lovely intercooler hose. I think you'll agree that looks pretty neat. It's not touching anything. Although it looks very close to the battery, it's not actually touching the battery. It's not touching the sides there. Even this hose is free. So yeah, really happy with that. That kind of takes us to the end of this side of the engine. I do need to sort an alternator mount out. I bought an alternator mount off a Discovery MPI, but there was a bit of a lost in translation moment, and the guy sent me an alternator, not an alternator mount. So I do need a Discovery MPI alternator mount, or some way of mounting an alternator there, if anyone's got any ideas. In the meantime, I'm going to get the oil cooler hoses measured up and made, but that's this side of the engine pretty much done. Don't really need much more, little tiny bits. Moving on to the front, I need to figure a water pump out, obviously a bottom hose connection, get the water pump on. I need to fit a fan. I've got a 16-inch fan that's going to fit there. I need to figure out a timing belt tensioner, which would have been part of the casting on the front of there. Still not decided if I'm going to run an electric water pump yet. I don't think so, because I think it'll be messy. We'll see. We'll figure that. So what we're going to do in the coming weeks is move on to this side. Obviously this side looks very bare compared to the other one. We need an exhaust manifold. I was thinking about having a top mount turbo up here, but there's a lot of room down here, so if I can find an aftermarket T-series manifold that mounts the turbo low, I'll just buy a T28 and I'll clock it so it fits lower down, and then it'll be a fairly straight run for the intercooler pipes. I think we spoke about the thermostat housing before. I need to clock it round so the top hose comes out and in, and then there'll be a fan controller there. We need to figure out the heater hoses for the heater matrix. And what else? We need to figure, we're going to mount the coil pack here. We'll get that done and get the leads, custom leads made up that are actually long enough, and we'll get the ECU mounted somewhere, maybe inside the car. And then lastly, we'll run new fuel lines front to back. I'm going to have to do a bit of modification to the fuel system because it's a carburetor fuel system at the moment, so I need a high pressure pump and I also need a return. So I'm tempted to use a swirl pot in the boot, so the low pressure pump that's already in the tank will feed the swirl pot, and then a high pressure pump will feed the car. Let me know what you think of that. I could get an EFI tank from an SD1, but fuel tanks aren't very, well, you don't find many of them, hence why I had to do a video on how to fix this one. So yeah, not as much progress, you know, as I'd like to usually make in a video, but it's this time now that will make it quicker later. So once it's all dry built, I'm going to take it out, paint the engine bay, new brake lines, get everything fitted up. But that side of things will move quickly, and again, like I've mentioned, tidying the wiring up at the front, that sort of thing will take no time at all. So not bad progress actually. I'm quite happy that that's done. I've not been dreading it, but I thought it was going to be a lot harder than it was, and it's actually come together really well. I'm loving how it's looking with stuff getting connected. It's starting to look like a car again. So although that's not it for me today, I'm going to turn the car around and start stripping the back suspension down. That is it for this video. If you've liked this video, please consider subscribing. Drop a comment down below what you think to the 2-litre T-Series SD1. I'm okay with criticism, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.